Thank you, Drew. And we're talking about the road to excellence. And my view is that it starts with motivation. And I really start with where Natalie left off, because she talked about people doing what they really love to do. And I'm convinced that people will only excel if they find work that they love to do. To me, excellence does not mean to be better than somebody else. It means to be the best you can be. And it actually means that you work to reach your full potential. And I would like to ask all of you, who wants to reach their full potential? Raise your hand if you do. Well, you see, it is universal. Everybody wants to do that. And so the point is, how do you do it? Now, I want to ask you a second question. Who, at any point in their life, has taken up a field of study which they later regretted? And who has, at any point, taken a job which they later on thought, I should not have taken it? Well, this is about choice. And there are too many wrong choices being made in our country today. I pressed too hard. 30% of our students switch or drop out in their first year of education. The cost is about $6 billion, calculated by the University of Maastricht. And I'm talking for a moment about Germany. In Germany, only, according to a Gallup poll, 13% of the people love their job. And many others do it because they have the discipline to do what needs to be done. But the cost of the people not enjoying their work, not doing work they love, was calculated because of absenteeism, because of the negative influence they have, because of the mistakes they make, because they don't treat their customers right. The cost is estimated to be as much as the national budget of the central government in Germany. Now in Holland, we do a bit better than the Germans. 50% of our people love their work. It does not yet show in our economy, but I hope it will soon. So many people end up in jobs which they don't really enjoy, and I was one of them. Many of the years that I worked, I was a square peg. The system really gets ahead of me. Many years I was a square peg in a round hole. And it took me a long time to find work that I really loved. In fact, I started to find it only when I was 48 years old. I read an article and it said, isn't it strange that most of us go through 12 or more years of education, then we start to work, we go through our working life, we get further trained, we get other jobs, and in most cases, without anyone ever finding out what are our talents and under which circumstances could they be used in the best way. And when I read it, I thought, if somebody knows how to do this, I want to find out as well. So I ordered the book of this man called Miller, and I read it, and I found that he had been human resource manager in a large company. And he said, why do I find it so hard to know if somebody I appointed a new assignment will do his work well? And he said, we know enough about the assignment, but we do not know enough about this person. And he tried to work with a system which was used then called the success factor analysis. And he could not, out of the analyzing these stories, find a pattern of motivated behavior. And he said, but I want to know what motivates people because that is what they will do in a new position. And if they can't do that, they will not be motivated. So he said, he had a brainwave. He said, what if I don't only ask people what have you done with success, but have you also enjoyed doing it? And when he started to analyze those stories, he found a pattern of motivated behavior with those people. He called his system the system for identifying motivated abilities. And of course, he did not only identify the abilities, but the circumstances as well that are motivating to people. And the question is, why is this system different from most systems that you come across to describe a personality and talents in people? And there's three things, really. First of all, it is based on people's own stories. It's not a thing that you put information in and something comes out, but it is based on your own story, so you know where the results come from. It does not compare you with other people who have taken the same program. It describes your individual potential and your individual gifts. And the third thing is that it describes all the elements that are important for you to know if you look for a job or a position or a field of study that you want to pursue. Now, Miller also found that everyone is intrinsically motivated. If you think your children or if you think your students are not motivated, they are motivated, but the question is to find out what motivates them and give them a chance to do what motivates them. Now, the scheme that Miller used is the following. He looks at what skills do you really like to use? What circumstances are motivating to you? Do you want to work under pressure or have a lot of freedom? What subject matter do you like to work with? Are you basically interested in working with people or with things? Or are you more interested in facts and figures? Or using your talents, your gifts? And what relationship is really the place in which you fit best with the people that you work with? And finally, what is your central motivation? What really drives you? What gives you satisfaction when you do something? Now, I went to see Miller, and I said, I want to work with your system in Holland. And he said, we first need to make sure that it really fits what you're motivated to do. So he said, make a list of things that you have done that you've enjoyed doing. And I said, well, I already made that list. So I pulled it out of my briefcase. And he said, well, tell me about it. So he interviewed me for an hour and a half. And at the end, he had it analyzed. And a month later, he told me, indeed, this work would fit you because I am interested in ideas and I'm interested in people. And he analyzed my central motivation as contributing to helping people and function better. And when I realized that was my, when he actually had analyzed my, what he called MAP, motivated abilities pattern, and my central drive, it explained why I had chosen the things I had chosen in my life. It explained also why I had responded wholeheartedly to a conference I went to when I was 15 years old, of a movement called Moral Rearmament. Now, the name may sound strange to you, but it was given just before World War II, when all the nations were rearming militarily. And the founder of this movement said, what we need is a spiritual and moral rearmament. So that was the name this organization had. When I got to this conference, I found people who were devoting their lives to actually remake the world. In the words of Michael Jackson's song, heal the world, make it a better place for you and for me and for the entire human race. That was the spirit that I found there. And it explained to me also why I, for instance, had gone to Delft to study technology. Because my thought was to work in the company which was founded by my ancestors and which my father Fritz had been president of during many years, and to make that company into a socially responsible enterprise. But I studied physics, and physics appeared not, I found physics was really not a subject that really interested me. I was more interested in people and ideas. So how electricity went through a wire or why water boils at 100 degrees didn't interest me. So I lost a lot of my interest in my studies, and there was another thing that happened. At the time, and this was back in 1953, the communism was a real threat in the world. We were afraid of losing our freedom. And I realized that I might be well off working in Philips, but would Philips still exist by the time I could have some influence there? And I had seen communists who had been hardcore believers in their system meet this idea of moral rearmament, MRA for short, who saw that this was a better way to create a just society. I'd been in their homes in the mines in Germany, in the coal mines in Germany. And so I realized that it was actually more important to volunteer to work with this movement and show these ideas around the world. I worked, for instance, as a sound engineer with a stage production that we took right through Asia. And it showed that these countries did not have to choose between Russia on one side or America on the other side, but that they could take a third way and find out what is the right thing to do. Then I joined Philips because after 12 years, communism was no longer a threat, and I thought I'd go back to my original thought, I will start working with Philips. But a lot of the time I worked there was work that did not fit. I joined Philips Telecommunications, and I had to work with telephone systems, with budgets, with strategic plans. And what was more, I did not have the way to influence the philosophy of the company, which was basically my aim. Also, I was given a job as a product manager, and what Miller had found out about me was that basically I am not a manager. I prefer to do things myself rather than tell other people what to do. So it was a wrong choice. And actually during the 15 years I worked there, most of the time I didn't like my work. I don't blame the company because it was certainly also my fault to be doing work, to have chosen work which did not fit me. And of course, I had not really studied what my job would be when I joined Philips. In fact, at the end of that time, I was quite unhappy and frustrated, and ultimately, it cost me my marriage. After I discovered Miller, I went back to Philips and tried to get a job in the corporate staffing department because I thought that's where I need to be in order to guide the right person in the right place. But my offer was declined, and I spent the next years learning how to work with this system, CIMA, and ultimately founded my own company to help people find the right place in life. Now, the question is, how can you find the work that you love? So the thing is, you can make a list of the things that you have done, that you've enjoyed doing, and that you feel you have done well. And analyze the elements that you find in that list, the skills, the circumstances, etc. I think I can give you some examples, which I will skip because my time is almost up. But if you want to excel, find work that motivates you. I found it only at the age of 56. And I would like for all of you to find it at a much earlier age if you have not yet found it yourself. Once you know your motivational pattern, you can compare it with your job and you can see which element fits the section B, which elements you are not motivated to use, and what elements you cannot use in your work. Now, I would like you to imagine what education would be like if we had motivated teachers who really want to bring out the best in their students. To have motivated students who really want to learn and develop their potential. Have motivating managers of the system, of the schools, who will create the right environment and bring out the best in their staff. And create a motivating environment. And I would like you to imagine what our country would be like if every person would love his work. I think this is possible, and I would like you to help to make this happen.